Good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to cover one of the foundational pieces of actually automating things. So I hear a lot of people talk about with AI like having agents do all this stuff for you, blah blah blah, like have an agent just that runs 24/7 and does all these cool, amazing things for you while you're sleeping. While agents are awesome and can do a lot of cool things like that, I found that just automating some very simple processes can save people a ton of time. And I've seen this at very small companies versus very, very large companies. So today I'm going to walk through end-to-end workflow for actually automating something and then show people how to do it and have it automated to the point where it can be just a button on your computer screen that you just double tap to run the process. So to get things going, I don't have anything created so far, it's just a blank desktop up here. Let me get my Claude Code desktop back up. And the prompt I typed in is go pull performance by company in S&P 500 and how they did last week. And why I did this, I want to, actually let's have it formatted as an Excel too, and format the output in an Excel. So, oh, I can't spell Excel. So why we're doing the S&P 500 is it's a very easy thing to update every day. So what my game plan here is I'm going to have Claude Code pull the performance of each company in the S&P 500 for last week, and then I'm going to have it create a button on my computer that I can double tap that will have it go pull fresh data and update the Excel sheet. And then we'll tie that to an HTML so it can be like a dashboard that everyone can see. And we can even put the refresh button in the dashboard if we want to. So this will be pretty cool once it's done. It'll take a little bit for it to run right now and actually go pull the data. But this will be a core building block that we can build off going forward. I might make this into a little video series where we talk about just automating processes in general. But again, like I've seen this at very small companies where you have someone coming to work every Monday, pulling their refunds reports, trying to scrub that and get the data formatted nicely before putting it in like a PowerPoint and shooting it off. And that'll take like them 20 minutes every Monday. We were able to automate that in about a 30-minute phone call with someone who's never used Claude Code before. So this is very doable. Or I've also seen it at very, very large companies where an entire team will pull data from a Power BI source, download it to Excel, chop it up, upload it to another Excel, and then copy and paste that output into a PowerPoint. So I've seen very clunky processes at a lot of companies where we've been able to automate those things away. So yeah, right now what it's going to do, it's going to make a Python file to go and run and pull the data for the S&P 500. It'll then chop that up and then put it into an Excel sheet. So this shouldn't be very hard for it to do. But I can talk about a few things in Claude Code Desktop while we're here. I feel like from what I've seen with people will tend to be very, very familiar with like chat, like the chat feature in Claude. Some people mess around with Cowork. That was our first two videos, and there were some issues with um, Anthropic yesterday, so that's what that error is. Um, but not as many people touch the code piece of it, and this is where you really make your bread and butter here. And you don't have to know coding. You don't have to be that technical. You just have to know how to explain in English what you want Claude to go build for you. And I think that's like one of the biggest hurdles in getting value out of AI tools is people often know what they want it to do, but they don't know where to go or how to even talk to the coding agents. It's much simpler than you think. I've taught people and they've like agonized over the prompt they give Claude Code. And it's like it's not that hard. Just like talk to it like you would an intern or someone in your company who doesn't know what they're doing. Give it the context, like the end goal in mind. Tell its left and right parameters, like, hey, I want you to do this report. I want it done in this style and I want it to pull from these data sources, and that'll work pretty well. So talking to Claude Code like it's an intern, like it's a person at your company that doesn't know what they're doing helps a lot. And let's see what we got. Okay, I'm gonna tell it to save that to my desktop. So it did make the Excel sheet. And then I'll move that to my desktop. This is not the best use of tokens, but it's still helpful. And also, I found a lot of people don't know where to go see their token budgets. So depending on what kind of company you're at, if they have the team plan or the API or the enterprise API plan, if you go down here to click on your name, hit settings, go to usage, you'll be able to see how many tokens you either have left for the 5-hour rolling time limit, the weekly limit, or if you're on an API plan instead of 37% used, it'll say like $100, $1,000, whatever here, and like how many dollars of tokens you've used. And I'll get into tokens, like what those are more in depth in different video. But yeah, this is how you see your usage, how much you have left. It's usually on like a weekly timing or like a monthly timing cadence. But okay, so it saved it to my desktop. Let me go find that. I'm sure it's on my other desktop. I'll go grab that though. And must have saved it to my OneDrive desktop. Okay, after fighting my computer because it saved it to a different location, not different location, just not my like computer desktop. I think it's my OneDrive one, something like that. But this was the Excel document that Claude made for us, which is pretty cool. Shows all the companies and the like how they've done in the previous week. We're in the middle of this like computer storage boom right now, so you can see Western Digital's very benefiting from that very much. Some other companies in here, which is pretty cool. It should go down all the way to the 500. Yep, Accenture, tough week for Accenture and all my friends working there. But overall, pretty cool that it does have this data in here. So what I'm going to tell Claude to do, okay, so this is where the automation part comes in. It's really easy. So I want you to create a button on my computer that I can double click and have it update, I'm struggling to spell, have it update this Excel doc with the most recent day's data for these companies. I want the button to live on my desktop. So very simple thing. I think a lot of people get really hung up with making an entire process end-to-end automated. Like, oh, I want it to shoot off at 7 a.m. right when I get to work, where I don't have to do anything. And you can do that with these coding tools. It's not necessarily hard, but the gap going from having a button on my computer I can double click, you can have that done in 20 minutes, where full end-to-end automation just takes a lot longer. Not saying it's not worth it. Like I've automated some reporting processes at work where it's full end-to-end. As soon as the data refreshes, it shoots off an email with a financial forecast. That is different than just having a button. It also takes much longer to do. So it's going to ask me a clarifying question, latest day's change, weekly refresh. I'll do both in separate tabs and see what it comes up with. So this will be pretty cool. And in some other videos, I've talked about the difference between these models. I'm gonna hit on those again just because like not everyone's gonna watch all the different videos out there. So what I did, I'm working in Claude Code on my desktop. I came down here to the bottom right. I clicked on Opus 4.8. That's the model we are currently using. It is the most recent of the Opus models. And you can see a few things here. So it has the models that are available to us. RIP Fable 5. That'll come back eventually, hopefully sooner rather than later. Anthropic's beefing with the government right now. But there's like the three classes of Claude models here. There's the Opus class, Sonnet class, and Haiku class. And a good way to think about those are just like the lengths. I think it's poems, where like Haiku is a very short poem. Sonnet's like more of like a middle length one, and then Opus is like a longer one. And those refer back to like the model's capabilities and how much they can get done. Also, just like how much training data and how much larger these underlying models are. So Opus is the biggest of these models that are available to us. Fable was. So Opus has most capabilities, but it's not always like linear. Like if you look, there's Opus 4.7, Opus 4.6. I've seen where they have like Opus 3 still in here, and Opus 3 would be much worse than Sonnet 4.6 just because Sonnet 4.6 is a newer model. And you can kind of think of these models like the numbering as like when they come out. They're supposed to be changes in capabilities too. A lot of people still love Opus 4.6. And Anthropic did something where they trained Opus 4.7 a bit different than Opus 4.6, and people did not like 4.7 at all. And then 4.8 was a continuation or upgrade of 4.7. So there's some hesitancy by people to use 4.8. I like it a lot. I haven't found any issues with it. So I think it's pretty powerful. Sonnet is kind of the economy class model. What I mean by that is like it's less capable than Opus, but it's also a lot cheaper. It's like 60% of the cost to use Opus, and it can do a lot of things. Like if you're trying to just make a really easy process automated on your computer, you can use Sonnet to do it. I might turn the reasoning up and we can talk about that. But you can automate things with Sonnet. It just might not get there as quickly as using Opus. Haiku is really tough to use for a lot of. I know there's a lot of smart people out there that use Haiku for some small tasks and automated processes. You can do it. It's just the cheapest, quickest, and dumbest of the models. It's like 1/10 the cost of Opus, I believe. Oh, I'll kill that Excel file. Sorry, it's tripping Claude up. But yeah, I mean, it kind of goes rank order there with Haiku being the quickest and cheapest, Sonnet being middle ground, Opus being like the biggest and best. There's also enable fast mode, which I think eats tokens like at 2 times the cost. So if you really need to knock something out quickly and you don't care about token costs, you can do that. And then also there is the reasoning efforts here, or reasoning levels here. So you'll see it says effort level in, like on Claude Code previously, I think it said reasoning, you did slash reasoning. It would let you pick how much reasoning you want to do. It's basically how much effort you want the model to spend thinking about things. And when it thinks about things, it uses tokens. So if you don't want to spend any time thinking at all, if you did one of the faster ones, let's see what it says. It says effort low. It'll give you responses really quickly, but it won't think through them, so they won't be as high quality. For a lot of things, you can use high, extra highs, a slight step change improvement. Max used to be the most reasoning you could use, and then when Fable 5 came out a few weeks ago, they introduced Ultra Code, and I found Ultra Code to be very powerful in writing complex software and things like that, like for discovering issues. So I use Ultra Code a fair bit when I can, but if it's something simple like this, I'll use high or extra high. Okay, so it said it created the button. Again, let's see if we can find that button quickly because okay, wonderful. After fighting with my computer over my OneDrive versus my actual desktop, it did create the button here. And how this should work, if I double click it, it should run a Python script that then goes and pulls fresh data for our S&P 500 Excel sheet. And yep, it opened up this terminal down here, and it should go download the latest prices and things like that and actually give us updated data, which is pretty cool. Try to minimize that a bit so we can still see stuff. And then get my Claude up as well. Okay, apparently I am not great at using OneDrive on my computer. That's fine. Okay, so the update process should have ran, and yep, it did update the data here, which is pretty cool to see. So if you remember from the very first part of this video, there was like Western Digital here, and it had like the prior week data. This was yesterday's data, so yeah, June 22nd close. So it updated that by just double clicking and running this. Instead of going and pulling the data yourself and exporting it, if you just double click the button, it will update the data for you. And I say that because it's a lot of people don't realize how easy it is to make an automated process like that. That took me about 15 minutes of just like talking to Claude and having it do stuff. So what we can do now, and this is what I did in my first 2 videos of Claude Cowork, is make an HTML dashboard showing relative performance of not each of the companies, of the companies in the Excel doc. I also want to make it filterable and interactive, and bear with me on my spelling. Okay, so after the kerfuffle was trying to find the data on my desktop, it was just saved to my actual desktop instead of my OneDrive. The automated Python process did work, did update the Excel sheet. Now we're going to have Claude Code go in and make an HTML dashboard out of this that we can filter and play with. It'll probably take it a few minutes, but you can very easily get to a place where you have a dashboard on your computer, you open up every day, you double click a button on that dashboard, it runs some kind of code in the background, whether that's Python or something else. It goes, pulls new data, whether that's from BigQuery, BigQuery, like Snowflake, Power BI, whatever your data source is, you should be able to connect it in some way, and you can make an automated process where you just double click a button, it goes and pulls that data and refreshes it for you. It's very easy to do in Claude Code. It costs a couple bucks in tokens, but it's worth it, saving like hours of work throughout, whether it's a week or a month or whatever time frame. It makes this process very quick and easy. Okay. So we're going to let this run for a bit. It'll probably take a few minutes to make an HTML. Okay, cool. So the dashboard opened up on a different screen on my computer, but here's what it looks like. So start to finish, this is 23 minutes from me recording the video and talking to having Claude Code go pull data from the S&P 500, make a Python script that allows it to refresh it daily, and to make an actual dashboard for people to play with. And that was with me absolutely struggling with my OneDrive. So this is interactive, this is filterable, so it's pretty cool. Let's see, ticker Apple, it actually did pull it. Let's delete that, go to all sectors, and let's do energy. It does pull their last daily performance. So you can make this as interactive as you want. It's got the weekly stuff. There's a fly flying around my head. But yeah, it made a pretty cool dashboard that you can interact with, and you can tweak like this thing as much as you want. You can have it go into much detail as you want. This is just a starting point and an example of how easy it is to have Claude Code build an automated process for you. Not everything has to be an agent. You can use agents like Claude Code to build your own automated processes and make your life a lot easier. And again, just so everyone sees it, all it is, it created these two files on my computer. With the Excel data and then the SP500 update button, and the HTML dashboard is living somewhere on my computer as well, but I'm not going to try to fight OneStream on that or OneDrive on that again right now. But I hope that was helpful for everyone. This will be step one, or automated process. I'll build on this in my next video. Make the dashboard probably a little more fun. Maybe we can get it hosted somewhere eventually as opposed to just a local host on my computer. But yeah, that was video one. I hope you all liked it. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.